tuned into the Truth with G. Inspire, educate, and uplift. If you can't handle the truth, this ain't the show for you. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So sit back, relax, and buckle up and enjoy this ride.
The Truth with G. The Truth with G. The Truth with G.
On a hot day in August 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered a speech that would define the civil rights movement and its legacy. This, of course, was his I Have a Dream speech, delivered on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial during the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom.
I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
The March on Washington served as a massive push for economic and political justice for African Americans. Held during the year celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation, crowds marched on the National Mall to watch a variety of musical performances and speeches. Dr. King, a Baptist preacher and prominent civil rights leader, was scheduled to speak towards the end of the day, his debut on the national stage. Up until that point, King mostly addressed small crowds at Black churches, rallies, or fundraisers. This time, he would be seen by nearly 250,000 people on the ground, as well as millions at home watching on television. This was an opportunity to reach a wide audience and persuade the public and the government to take action against racial injustice. The night before, King worked with a close group of advisors to get the speech just right. They worked through the night, settling on a final draft in the pre-dawn hours of August 28th. Interestingly, the phrase, "I have a dream," a phrase he used in earlier speeches, was nowhere to be found in this copy. The words wouldn't manifest until almost halfway into Dr. King's speech, when gospel singer Mahalia Jackson, who had performed earlier in the day, called out to him from the sidelines to tell them about the dream. King set his prepared remarks aside and improvised the rest, crafting a soaring speech that would sear into the minds of millions of Americans.
No, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream.
The speech was divided into 2 parts. The first listed the injustices that African Americans faced: segregation, police brutality, disenfranchisement, and discrimination, and urged a call to nonviolent action. The second launched into King's dream of peace and racial harmony, a vision of a future in which people will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
I have a dream.
Highlighting King's skills as a preacher, I Have a Dream was part sermon and part poetry, using rhetorical devices like repetition, rhyme, and vivid metaphor to drive his points home. It was peppered with historic, biblical, and literary references that moved the crowd. This message of struggle and hope became the defining moment not only of King's career, but also the civil rights movement. Both the speech and the March on Washington were credited with helping secure the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, a landmark piece of legislation that ended segregation and banned discrimination on the basis of race or sex in the workplace.
Free at last! Free at last! Thank God Almighty! We are free at last!
The speech also resonated with activists around the globe. I have a dream. The phrase that wasn't even meant to be in his final draft appeared in political actions all around the world. It's considered one of the world's most transformative and influential speeches, alongside others like Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address and Winston Churchill's Blood, Toil, Tears, and Sweat. I Have a Dream is only one of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s many achievements, but it's nonetheless one of the most pivotal.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation.
All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to the show. You're listening to the Truth G on WPMM Internet Radio. I am your boy, Joe Graham. You know me as G. Once again, we are back to talk about the issues that matter to you and your community. Hope all is well with everyone. Hope all is well. It is Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King Day, holiday, and birthday today, January 15th, 2024. And today should be a day of service and a day of peace. So I'm coming to you today on a special time. We're early today. We're about an hour early. Normally I'm on at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Come on a little bit early today because of some scheduling. I got some other places to be today, but I thought it may be more appropriate just to go home and come on at a different time versus not coming on at all to talk about this historic and well-deserved holiday that we have, and knowing that it's the only holiday that is named after an African-American individual, a Black individual, if you will. This is the only holiday that we have. And so we should pay homage. We should honor the dream. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Is the dream still alive? And what would MLK say about the plight of the Black community today is what we're going to talk about. I do want you to join in with me today. And we do want you to join in on the conversation via message. You can drop your message into the comment section. We're live on Facebook. So you can drop your comment into the comment section on Facebook. And I do want to hear from you. And because I want to know, what does MLK mean to you? So I do want to hear from you. Drop your comments into the comment section. Once again, The Truth with G on WPMM Radio. WPMM, we are under the guise of Changing Rising Media Group LLC, where we play more music. We play the best in R&B, jazz, neo soul, talk, independent hip hop, old school music. Also, we are on WPMMradio.com is the website to go to if you want to listen to the show from the website. You can also go to TuneIn, iTunes, Alexa. You can download the app from the Google Play Store and the Apple Store. You can go to the website at WPMMradio.com and download the free app as well. Again, it is a free app. Does not cost you anything. Also, we're live on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, let's go ahead and share. Go ahead and share. And I know people are out and about right now, still partaking in the festivities, but it's coming toward the end of the day, time to wind down, be back on the grind on tomorrow if you had today off. And I hope that, I can't tell you what to do on your job, and I don't want you to get fired or anything, but I just hope that one, that these jobs are honoring the holiday, because it is a federal holiday. I hope these employers are honoring that day and giving their employees off, or if they're working, I'm assuming they should be getting time and a half as well, because again, it is a federal holiday. But I would encourage going forward, if anybody is African American, Black, Negro, whatever you want to call us nowadays, going forward on this day, there should not be a Black person at any job. This should be a day that we can do service and make peace. And we should not be on anybody's job, just like they can shut down everything on some of these other holidays. This day should be where, if they're not going to shut it down, we should shut it down for ourselves. And which meaning Go ahead and plan for next year. Go ahead and put your request in to be off on Dr. King Day. I can't even, I don't think I've ever worked on a Dr. King Day, regardless of where I was working, what job I had. I think I took off if it wasn't given to me, I took it off. So, and I'm not telling you to go and get fired or anything, because I can't support you. But I would highly encourage you to put in your request to be off on this day. The views and opinions expressed by individual radio hosts and guests are of their own. It does not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of WPMM Radio. WPMM does not intend to malign with any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything. All right, now that we have that out the way, happy MLK to all of you out there. If you're out there on Facebook, let me hear from you. Hit a thumbs up, hit a heart, do something. Let me know you're out there. And we're talking about the late, great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. today. We're talking about his legacy. We're talking about his dream. Are we living the dream? Are we living the dream? Are we standing up and upholding what he expected of us as people? I want to hear from you. We got a couple of people on. Mr. Larry Pugh is on. Good evening, Mr. Pugh. Miss Deborah Rivers is on tonight. We got a couple comments already. Mr. Larry Pugh said, yes, the dream is still alive, but it's on life support. I'm where I am because of the dream, and I'm grateful for the sacrifice that Dr. King made for me and all people. Yes, that's a powerful statement there, Mr. Pugh. And I feel, success is measured differently by individuals. And I feel that I have been as successful as society would allow. And what I mean by society allowing, sometimes we are great. We are definitely great. We're great people. However, we run into obstacles because of the lack of ownership, because of the lack of black representation in our government, because of the lack of representation in our communities or what have you. We are oppressed a lot of times, and we don't have enough firepower. We don't have enough unity to overcome that oppression. So we often find ourselves in a settling mode, to where we settle for things, and it's not because we want to settle. It's because that's pretty much the only option, if you will. And Mr. Pugh said that he says he's where he is because of that dream, and definitely we have all benefited from the work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And if you're saying it different, you're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself and everybody around you, because Dr. King was unselfish. Dr. King was willing to sacrifice life, limb, and happiness, if you will, for this fight, for our freedoms and for our rights. And he was so committed to it that he died fighting for our rights. And with that being said, is the dream alive? And I know I got one comment from Mr. Pugh. I'm looking for other comments. Drop your comment in the comment section. Is the dream alive? And I posed a question: what would Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. say about the situation of the Black community as it stands today? And I have to be honest with you, and I have to be honest, and I have to be open, and I have to be candid, because one, if Dr. King was alive today, I think we would be in a better position because of his leadership, because of his relentlessness, because of his ability to stand up to those that want and continue to try to oppress us. I think we'll be in a better position. But if Dr. King could come back for one day and answer the question of what he thinks about the plight or the position or the state of the Black community this day. And I think his words would be powerful but sad. And I am not sitting here saying that all Black people are doing bad, because we have some Black people out there doing some wonderful things. However, we have too many Black people that are out there that's not willing to sacrifice and not willing to do anything for their upbringing and upkeep, let alone anyone else's. And I think that's the difference between the civil rights era, where Dr. King was a leader, and today. But what would Dr. King say about the situation of the Black community today? What would he say? And I would have to say that he would have to reiterate on the fact that the Black community don't have the necessary unity that it needs to overcome the obstacles that we have in our way today. I would venture to say that he would probably say that our leadership is lacking in our local communities, in our local government, in our state government. There's not enough voices to make a loud enough noise to be heard, because we have too many people hiding in the shadows, too many people ducking and dodging, trying not to be seen and trying not to be heard, and too many people that want to settle for status quo and not engage in conflict, in which you will see when you go against the status quo. We don't have enough people that are willing to sacrifice life and limb for the freedoms and the rights of others. I think Dr. King would be saddened by the lack of unity in our community. I think he would be saddened by the amount of violence that we perpetrate against each other within our community. I think he would be saddened by the Black family today, where the Black family is not together, and we have too many single parenting issues, if you will. So what do you think Dr. King would say if he came back for one last speech? What do you think he would say? It looks like we got a couple other comments. Mr. Chris Sanders, how you doing this evening? He said, great question. Let Mr. Larry Pugh say, he would say, what's wrong with my people? Mr. John Adams has joined us. Good to see you on here, Mr. John. Mr. John Adams say his worst fears had come true. He has led his people into a burning house. Interesting comments. Keep these comments coming. Drop your comment to the comment section. What do you think Dr. King would say about the situation in the Black community today? Drop your comments into the comment section. I want to hear from you. I want to know what you think. Again, my opinion, my thoughts, I think he would be saddened by what you see today. And I wasn't in town this morning to attend the Martin Luther King parade downtown Pensacola. I was actually coming back into town as the parade was ending, and I'm assuming it ended somewhere around 1 o'clock. And I actually got back in town around 2 p.m. today, so I did not get a chance to partake in the parade. However, you know, I don't know what took place out there. I hope and I pray that there was peace. I hope that there was calm. I hope there was civility. I hope that there was camaraderie amongst the people that took the time out to go out and participate in this event that's put on for a prominent Black man that lived within us and fought for us. I hope that everything was calm, but I can say that in past years, in a day that's supposed to be peaceful, in a day that you're supposed to reverence service, if you will, we have foolishness. And I hope and pray nothing took place downtown today. I haven't heard anything to this point, but again, I've been ripping and running and have not been able to, check out any sources of local news, anything of that nature. So I hope and pray that everything was peaceful. However, I did catch some things on social media today, and I caught video or videos, if you will, of people that look like me, either fighting or trying to fight on this day where we should be peaceful. Today of all days, we should be peaceful, and I'm still seeing evidence of black people that can't get along and work things out civilly and diplomatically. And I don't understand why we can't work out our differences. And don't get me wrong. Don't think that I'm sitting here being a hypocrite and say, people saying, well, Gerald, you done cause confusion or whatever case may be. No, I don't cause confusion. Have I been caught up in confusion? Yes, I have, but I don't cause confusion, especially when it comes to any type of physical type situation. I don't cause confusion, but I can say this: I will partake and finish if someone starts it. But that's just human nature. That's how we all operate. We all operate under survival mode. If somebody attacks us, or if somebody come toward us, we have to do what we have to do to rectify that situation and get out of it. So I'm not being hypocritical. Trust me, I'm not being hypocritical. But we need to learn to settle our differences in a diplomatic way instead of always wanting to revert to violence, revert to, physical altercations, revert to yelling and screaming and this, that, and other. We need to find a way amongst our own people to come together and resolve these issues without bloodshed. We got a couple other comments. Mr. Lasprey said Dr. King would say vote, vote, and vote. Definitely. That's what Dr. King fought for. He fought for the right for us to get out and be able to vote. And people take that for granted. A lot of people take that for granted. That man gave his life. Others in the civil rights movement gave their life, sacrificed their bodies, sacrificed their homes, sacrificed their livelihoods so that we can have the right to walk into a polling place and place a vote for the candidate of our choice, because we couldn't always do that. And for those people who bled and died so that we can do that, their deaths and their pain and their suffering is in vain because we don't want to fulfill the dream. Is the dream still alive? If you're just joining us on Truth with G on WPMM, we're talking about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. today. We're honoring his legacy. We're asking the question, what would Dr. King say about the status or the plight of the black community today? Let's see, we have another comment. Mr. John Adams said, I heard an interview with Mike Wallace right before he died. He talked about how back then the Republican Party was changing even back then. The Republican Party is a party of racists, regardless of how you look at it. And, every time I bring up the Republican Party, I get pushback, and people are telling me, all Republicans aren't racist, or Republicans aren't racist, and you shouldn't. Prove me wrong. If you prove me wrong, then I'll stop saying it. Because the Republican Party right now is based in racism. It's based in hate. It's based in oppression. It's based in stepping on the poor and middle class. It's based in everything that should not be of this country and of this population in the United States. It should not be there. And that's what the Republican Party stand for. So when you talk about the Republican Party changing, yes, it has changed. And is there, you know, I know you people, some people out there may be saying, well, there's racism in the Democratic Party as well. There very may be. However, it's not prevalent. It's not out there in the open. It's not uh, uh, shown in their policies and the bills that they're trying to pass and within our government. They're not just outright racist and use racial comments and slurs and this, that, and other out in the open in the public, and where mainstream media can pick it up and run with it. So I know for a fact. I'm not naive. I'm not ignorant. I'm not trying to duck and dodge. I know for a fact there are white people that are Democrats that are racist. They just don't display it when they're outside of those closed doors. But for the Republicans and MAGA, it's the total opposite. They feel that they have the freedom to be racist. They feel like they have the freedom to oppress. They feel like they have the freedom to keep us down and to continue to keep us down and stomp on us and take away our rights. We are going back into the days of Jim Crow. We're going backwards. Our legislation, everything that's being introduced, being put on the floor and being passed, all of it has a racial connotation to it. And it's sad. It's sad. It's sickening. It should not be. And we have people that support that. That's why within this election cycle that we're in right now, 2024 is an election year. I encourage everybody to just vote Democrat down the board. Just vote Democratic down the board. I don't give a damn if you look at the names to see who ran it. Once you see that Democrat on there, vote Democrat, because the Republican Party as a whole does not want to see Black and brown people gain any type of leadership, any type of status, any type of role where they are taking over, if you will, the everyday dealings right here in the United States. A couple other comments. Mr. Larry Pugh said Republican Party is dead. It's MAGA Republican. You're definitely right, because I keep saying this. I've said this several times. Even though I have a registered Democrat in regards to my voter's registration card, it says Democrat. However, I was always one. Not in the primaries, and sometimes it's closed primaries, so you can only vote for your party, if you will, in the primaries. But in the general election, you can vote for whoever you want to vote. And have I voted for Republicans in the past? Yes, I have. Because at some point in time, there was some Republicans out there that had some damn sense. There were some Republicans out there that had morality about themselves. There were some Republicans out there who had common decency and would introduce bills that would help and benefit me and my family. But that doesn't exist anymore. We have a bunch of retaliatory dumbasses that is running the country on the Republican side, and we have a bunch of dumbasses and cult members that are following and verifying and giving credence to everything that they do. Mr. John Adams brought up Michael Steele. Michael Steele, he's a member of the Republican Party still. From my understanding, he's still a Republican. However, he's not. I forgot the name of the movie. I was about to reference a movie and Get Out. That's the name of the movie. Get Out. He's not in that mode. He's not. He has seen the light, if you will, and he see that the Republican Party is not the Republican Party that it used to be, and he see that the things that the Republican Party is doing is outside the realm of humanity and morality. So, but Dr. King, what would Dr. King say about the plight and the status of the black community today? Would he be happy with what he's seeing? I think not. I think not. And I don't mean to come on here tonight and put a damper on anybody's mood or, on holiday, their holiday or what have you by talking about the situation that we have, because I don't care what day of the week it is. I don't care what holiday it is. I don't care whose birthday it is. I still have to tell the truth about things that is going on around us. I would not be right. I would not be G if I didn't tell the truth about what's going on. So I have to tell it regardless of the day. What's better day to tell what the issues are than the day that we're supposed to celebrate peace, the day we're supposed to celebrate victory, the day we're supposed to celebrate fulfilling the dream. I would be a hypocrite if I act like everything was okay and just sat here and talked about the roses and the rose petals and the perfumes and things of that nature. I would be wrong, and I would be doing you an injustice to do that. But what would Dr. King say about the plight of the black community today? If he came back for one day and made one speech, what would you say? What would the title of his speech be? Drop your comments into the comment section if you would. Mr. Pugh said Dr. King would be disappointed with the black church. Oh my God, Mr. Pugh. Did you just open that can of worms? Did you just open that can of worms, Mr. Pugh? But I'm gonna start off here because you brought up the black church. You brought up the black church, and I was gonna try to stay away from black church for a minute. But since you brought it up, you opened Pandora's box on that one. And I'm going to first by saying there are some great churches out there that have great pastors that are doing great things, particularly in the community outside the four walls of their own church. There are some great pastors out there doing good work. So I want to caveat in the beginning before I say anything else on that. There's some great pastors out there that's doing some great things, and those pastors know who they are. The congregation members that are in those particular churches know who I'm talking about, what church I'm talking about, what have you, because it's evident in what they're doing and how they practice their weekly and daily services there and what they're doing in the community. Everybody know. But we have some pastors out there that are a disgrace, if you will. We have some pastors out there that are in it for the show. We have some pastors out there that's in it for the money. We have pastors out there that are in it to be hoes. And I'm just telling the truth. Y'all looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm just telling the truth. Y'all know me. But if you compare the pastors of today and the pastors of the 60s in that era, Mr. John Adams said, we forget Dr. King died fighting for equality for garbage workers in Memphis. Yes, he did. He went there because, they wasn't getting treated right. They wasn't getting paid right. He went there to help those people in Memphis, and he lost his life right there in Memphis at the Lorraine Motel. Mr. John Adams brought up Pastor Davis. When I say there's some good pastors out there, he brought up Pastor Davis. He said he's always in the community doing great things. And like I say, there's some pastors out there that are doing some wonderful things in the community, doing some great things in the community. And I didn't want to, I wasn't, you guys can call out names. I'm not going to single out anybody, good, bad, or indifferent. But like I said, we have some pastors out there that's in it for the wrong reasons. They're in it for the wrong reason. We have some pastors out there that wouldn't, if they passed by you, you was on fire. They wouldn't piss on you to put you out because you're going to mess up what they're trying to do, their own agenda. You got pastors out there that's worried about putting on a show. It's just, we got to put this show on. We're not trying to save souls. We're just trying to entertain these people. We're not trying to save souls. As long as we entertain, we're good. We got pastors out there that is putting on, tailored, $2,000 suits, and they taking money from Sister Ezel, and Sister Ezel is on a fixed income, and she's eating ramen noodles in the dark by candlelight because she can't pay a light bill. But the pastors of today, again, Mr. Pugh brought up the black church, so he went there, so I'm going to go there just for a second. I'm coming back in a minute. But the pastors in the 60s came together, and they all got together to fight against injustice. They came out of the pulpit, they came out of the four walls of their church, and they got together and they organized and they protested and they had sit-ins and they did all these different things to bring attention to the injustice that was being put upon the black community, and they had a purpose. They wasn't doing it for the show. They was hitting the head with bottles, dogs were sick on them, fire hoses, whatnot. They was beat with billy clubs. They was, thrown in jail. They did it so that we can have the freedom that we're supposed to have today. Instead, we got pastors that won't come out the pulpit. We got pastors that won't come out the bedroom. They too busy in the bedroom trying to get whatever they can get out the bedroom, and it's not even their own bedroom. You got too many pastors trying to put on a show and not enough pastors doing the work to help uplift and overcome, as they said back in the 60s, and we shall overcome. We don't have that leadership. We don't have that abundant leadership. We need more. Again, there's some good pastors out there doing some good things. But if you're going to pastor, you got to be a leader. We don't need pastors that are for show, doing it for the show, doing it for the money, doing it for the fame, doing it for the women, what have you. We don't need that crap. Get your ass out the pulpit if that's the case. Be a hoe. Be whatever you want to be. Do it out there in the street. Don't do it in the pulpit. You want to put on a show, get with one of these local promoters or whatever, go to your venue, whatever, do it. Put the whole show together. Somebody might come see you, but don't do it in the pulpit. You're supposed to be saving souls up there. You're supposed to be helping people. You're supposed to be helping moving the black community, especially our black pastors. And I know we don't want to segregate and this, that, and other, but if you got a congregation full of black people, you should be in there for the purpose of uplifting those black people that you're preaching to. Mr. Larry Pugh said pastoring has become a job that is a job, and that's the problem. Yes, it's not about saving souls. It's about what's my salary? How much you going to pay me? I remember back in the day, pastors didn't get, pastor was getting, $30, $40 a Sunday and wasn't complaining. Went and preached the word on Sunday, saved a couple of souls, and got whatever the congregation was able to give them, and was happy, and turned around and went to work Monday morning. But we don't have that anymore. We don't have that in most pastors anymore. It's how much is my salary? Anyway, Mr. John Adams says not all of them. A lot of them stayed away from the movement because they were scared of retaliation when King died. His approval rating went down. Yeah, we had pastors. Again, I'm not putting everybody in the same bucket, but if you look at the pastors of today versus the pastors of the 60s, we had more pastors in the 60s being active than we do today. But Dr. King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., born January 15th, 1929, is the day that this great man was born. Little information on Dr. King. Dr. King, January 15, 1929. He was born in Atlanta, Georgia. He died April 4th, 1968 in Memphis, Tennessee at the Lorraine Motel. As he stood there on the balcony, he was shot down. He was gunned down as he stood there on the balcony. And that the Lorraine Motel now is a civil rights museum. I've been there. It's one of the most chilling adventures that I've ever had in my life. I've been a lot of places, seen a lot of things, but I will never forget the day that I pulled up at the Lorraine Motel and I got out my vehicle and I saw where they have that wreath sitting there at the spot where Dr. King stood. And was gunned down. I mean, I literally got chills over my body. It was like something came over me, and I was just overwhelmed with emotion because I've never experienced it. You know, growing up, seeing that on television, seeing the incident on television, seeing that famous picture where Dr. King is laying there and people are pointing in the direction of where the shots were fired. I seen that image all my life, and as an adult, I was able to go to that spot, and it was one of the most chilling and one of the most humble experiences I have ever had in my life. He was married to Claretta Scott King, married in 1953, and he was married to her until his demise in 1968. The children of Dr. King, he had Martin Luther King III, he had Yolanda King, Bernice King, and Dexter King. And his education, he went to Booker T. Washington High School. He studied at Morehouse College. He studied at Boston University. Also David T. Howard High School. He went to as well Kozer Theological Seminary in Boston University School of Theology and Chandler School of Theology. Well-educated man. Mr. Adams said his birth name was Michael. If that's the case, that is the first I heard that. I didn't know his birthday was Michael. And he was a intricate part of the civil rights movement. He was a very important man in the civil rights movement. He was a highly touted component in the civil rights movement. He feared no one. He advocated nonviolence. He advocated peace. His last speech kind of told. And his last speech, I don't care what nobody says, who try to dispute it or whatever the case may be, the last speech that Dr. King gave there in Memphis, Tennessee, he knew in his heart that his time was coming to an end. He knew that his demise was coming. But at the same time, he still said that I'm not worried. I'm not fearing any man. He said, I've been to the mountaintop and I looked over and I seen the promised land. He said, I may not get there with you. But he said, we the people will get to the promised land? Is the dream still alive? Are we living the dream? And I'm gonna tell you like this: we are living the dream, but are we doing what's necessary to keep the dream alive? Are we doing our part to keep the dream alive? Are we trying to turn that dream into a nightmare? Are we trying to scare away the progress that he made while he lived, and that progress that others tried to pick up and carry, completing the task after he passed? Is his death in vain? Are we just overlooking what he has done? Are we just taking for granted his contribution to our success today? People that look like me, you and I, we would not be where we are if it wasn't for someone like Dr. King, if it wasn't for all those great men and women of the civil rights movement. And there's too many names to call, so I'm not even going to start calling names. If it wasn't for those young people back in the 60s, I'm talking teenagers, I'm talking high school kids, those kids that were fearless, that knew that the white man was after them, but they stood for something. They stood up to fight the injustice. They stood up to fight the inequality. They stood up to fight the racism. They stood up to fight the oppression. They stood up to fight for our rights to be citizens of this country. And they did it without hesitation. They showed up at the marches. They showed up at the sit-ins. They showed up at the rallies and at the churches, and that they showed up. These are the young people were doing this back in the day. And now our young people are just creating havoc amongst themselves. They're killing each other. We need to get our young people back to where they were in the 60s, when they used to come together and unite as one for a common goal. Mr. Adams put comments, he said his father's name was Michael. He changed his name to Martin Luther since he was a senior. He had to change his son's name as well. Interesting information there, Mr. Adams. He also said these were high school kids that, I'm sorry, I'm trying to see. He said these were high school kids that Bill Connor sprayed with the water hose. Yes. We had the young people back in the day that were fighting for rights, the young people that were standing for something. They will come together as one and unite and talk about how to overcome this oppression, and then implement actions into what they have talked about. They didn't just sit back and do nothing. They paved the way for you to be where you are today. Are you killing the dream? Are you part of the life and the legacy? Or are you part of the death of that dream? These are questions you have to ask yourself. I hope that you're a part of keeping the dream alive. I need you to be a part of keeping the dream alive. And for you for the dream killers out there, I need for you to change your ways. I need for you to adopt the philosophies and the thinkings and the teachings of someone like a Dr. Martin Luther King. I need you to put those guns down. I need you to stop trying to claim territory that's not yours, that you don't own. Stop trying to harm people for coming onto territory that you don't own. Stop killing your fellow man because you think they disrespected you or they looked at you a certain way or they mean-mugged you or whatever the case may be. Stop it. Domestic situations, if you're a couple and you're loving on each other, fine, stay together, grow and prosper, be a family. But if you're in a situation where you have to perpetrate violence against one another, get out, because we don't need that in our community. We need to come together as a people. Once we come together as a people, as Dr. King say, he want to grow up where he want the world to be where little black children, little white children can get together and play together. But hell, if we can't play with ourselves, we can't play amongst ourselves, how can we join with anybody else and play? How can we put these kids together and expect them to act right when we're teaching them that you should hate that person and you should fight that person that looks like you? Come on, people. We got to do better. We have to keep this dream alive. We have too many dream killers. Dr. Martin Luther King would not be happy with this state of black people in 2024. He would not be happy. So on this day should be a day of service, should be a day of peace. And I have not been in the news today to see what has taken place around the country. Again, I've been out and about, been running. As soon as I get off the air, I'm still on the run. But I hope that at least on this day, that no black person has perpetrated a crime against another black person on this day, the day that we should be honoring a great man, a day that we should be coming together peacefully and in servitude of a peaceful movement. Mr. Larry Pugh said the sacrifices that Dr. King and others made is gone. So now we have jealousy and greed. I got mine and you got yours. The dream is on life support. Love your brother and sister. Love your brother and sisters. Yes, sir. Mr. Pugh said a mouthful right there. The dream is on life support. We have too many dream killers. We can't officially pull the plug. We have to pump life back into Dr. King's dream. We have to pump life back into the black community. And I'm not anti-white. I'm just pro-black. I'm for the upliftment of our people. I don't hate white people. I don't dislike white people because they're white. If you're a white person and you're an asshole, then that's why I don't like you. It has nothing to do with your pigmentation. But on this day, let's keep this day peaceful. Let's carry it on into tomorrow. And tomorrow, let's carry it on into the next day. And let's keep this thing going. Let's honor Dr. King by showing reverence to his dream and what he wanted to see as he looked over that mountain. He knew he wouldn't get here with us, but he saw the promised land. And he said, we as a people will get to the promised land. I'm trying to get there. I need you to come with me. But that's my time. It's time for me to get out of here. You've been listening to The Truth with G on WPMM Internet Radio. I'm your boy G. I will be back on Monday. Thursday. If I do a show on Thursday, it's going to be a pop-up. But because of my schedule and whatnot, the Thursday show may not happen. But I want to thank you for joining me tonight, today on this special day, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration, a official holiday, first black man or black person to ever have a federal holiday, and we should be honoring that. So if I don't see you Thursday, I will see you on Monday. Until then, You guys be safe. Y'all be blessed. And I out of here.